Good morning, Triangle Center for Spiritual Living. We're so happy to have you here with us today. Excuse me. It's wonderful to have you with us wherever you're at today. We've had a little rain here in Raleigh today, and it's beautiful. So we just want to welcome you here. This is a community where we practice science of mind. We believe there is one God, many paths to that one God, and we believe that God is in and through all things, and that power is creative and allows us to create in our lives as well through our thoughts. So I'd like to introduce our practitioner, Heather Abbott.
Thank you, Jim. Good morning. Our theme for 2020 is 2020 Spiritual Vision. Our November theme is Living as Compassionate Conduits. Reverend Dusty's talk title today is Divine Authority to Choose. I'm now going to read our community's purpose statement, which is my honor to do. And this is our reason for being here. Our purpose is to inspire, educate, and empower individuals to experience themselves as unique and individualized expressions of God, the love intelligence that governs the universe. We are committed to not merely a theoretical understanding of our oneness and unity with God, but to consciously practice these truths in our everyday lives. Through celebration, service, study, and fellowship, we are committed to the transformation of our personal lives and to being a powerful and beneficial presence on the planet. With the energy of unconditional love, simply, we are here for God. Now I would like to invite you to turn within, closing your outer eyes, and allow these healing sounds of the crystal bowls to wash over you.
I invite you to begin to bring your attention back into your bodies and into your rooms, and remain turned within as I speak a word of invocation upon our service. With my eyes closed and my attention turned inward, I am aware of the one mind, the one life, the one heart, the one creative energy back of everything that there is, seen and unseen. I call this power and presence God, although it goes by many different names. Whatever we call it, it is the very essence of peace, of joy, of creativity, of freedom, of wisdom, and of abundance. I know that I am one with this. And just as I know that I am one with this power and presence, I know that it is the truth of each and every person here in the sanctuary, each and every person on Facebook Live, each and every person on Zoom, each and every sentient being on the planet. It is from this place of unity that I bless our time together, just knowing that it is whole, perfect, and complete even as it is beginning, knowing that it flows with grace and ease from beginning to end, that there is something within it of value for each and every single one of us, that everything that needs to be said is said, everything that needs to be heard is heard. I bless all of those volunteers that have so generously given of their time to support this service today. Iris and Bruce in the AV booth, Jim and Heather as practitioners, and our amazing musician Cindy Johnson. Each of them has brought their depth of consciousness and their love for this community to the service today. And so for all of the blessings, those that I'm aware of and those I can't even begin to imagine, I am grateful. We anchor this together simply by saying, and so it is. And so it is. It is now my pleasure to welcome back up to the podium licensed spiritual practitioner and ministerial student, Jim Rigsby.
Thank you very much. It's time for our tradition of the blessing of all faiths, and Heather's going to help me with this today. The Triangle Center for Spiritual Living honors the diversity and threads of truth that run through all spiritual paths as represented by this ceremony. Christianity is the path of Christ consciousness, love, and forgiveness. Buddhism is the path of compassion and understanding. Judaism is the ethical path of living by sacred law. Baha'i is the path of unity and peace. Islam is the path of submission to the will of God, the highest calling. Confucianism is the path of deliberate tradition. Taoism is the natural way, the path of ultimate reality. Native American practice and shamanic traditions are the paths of primal spirituality. Shintoism is the path of tribal ancestry. And Hinduism is the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. The science of mind and spirit is the path of the divine principle of love and law. And the heart represents the one heart, the one love that resides at the center of all people and all beings everywhere with no exceptions. May peace prevail on earth through the followers of all paths. And so it is. Thank you, Heather. The reading for today is from Gary Zukav. He says, "Choice is the engine of evolution. If you choose unconsciously, you will evolve unconsciously. If you choose consciously, you will evolve consciously. The power of choice is the greatest gift you have been given, second only to the gift of life itself." And so it is. So if you just turn within, as I speak a blessing on our service today, just recognizing the power and presence of this one life, this one power, this one creative love in the universe. Knowing that it loves us so much that it became us in order to experience life in a unique way. And so from this loving presence and from my unity with it, I just speak a word of blessing on our service today, and a word of blessing on Reverend Dusty as she comes forward to deliver a beautiful message to us today, one that touches our hearts forevermore and transforms our lives. I know that Spirit speaks through her today. And I bless Cindy as she comes forward today, bringing her wonderful gift of music and song and love to this community, that she lifts our hearts and blesses our lives. And so it is. And without Cindy Johnson.
So many chances, so many questions, so many roads to take, so many choices laid on the table. We don't know which one to make. All the feelings, all the failures, we fight to rise above. If the choice is mine to make, I choose love. Too many hearts all searching for someone to handle them with care. Too many souls so hungry and helpless, believing there's no one there to light their way in the darkness, like the white wings of a dove. If the wings are mine to give, I give love. It's too easy being cynical. It's not enough to just survive. The heroes are the ones who hope and keep the dream alive. The dream of all of the people breathing together, sharing one time and space, searching the eyes of each passing stranger, finding the same sweet grace. It's a simple little miracle we all keep dreaming of. The answer's very clear if we want to make it here. The choice is love or fear. I choose love. I choose love.
Welcome to those of you who may have just jumped onto Facebook Live or Zoom. I am so very grateful that you have chosen to include us in your morning. The theme for the month of November is Living as a Compassionate Conduit, and my talk title is Divine Authority to Choose. When we arrived on the planet, when we incarnated, we were given free will. Created in the image and likeness of God, we have that same free will that is the nature of God, that same authority to choose that is the nature of God. Real freedom means that we were created in the image and likeness of perfection and left alone and allowed to make that discovery for ourselves. Free will means the ability to do and to say and to think as we wish, to express life as we personally desire. Every choice that we make is an exercise in freedom. What we choose to believe in becomes real for us. We have the ability to choose what we will do with our lives, and we are unified with a law that automatically produces our choice. We are individuals, and the only way that we can be individuals is to be spontaneous and to think as we choose. We could have been created like machines that do what they're supposed to do and do it without thinking about what else they could be doing or about thinking about why they're doing what they're doing. On the other hand, machines have no character or soul or personality. They cannot experience joy or anticipation or pleasure. They are not creative or spontaneous or inquisitive. They lack self-awareness or consciousness. They have no relationships and no sense of priorities. They cannot make plans for the future, nor can they experience the satisfaction of accomplishment. They cannot make choices. They have no free will. But we were not created like machines. We are human beings, and we were given free will. We were given the ability to think, to reason, and to make our own choices. All of humanity has the ability to manage and have authority over our own lives. In fact, the bottom line is that we cannot live a choiceless life. Every second, every minute, every hour of every day, there is the possibility of a choice to be made. If it were not so, we would not be individuals. We would be like those machines. We have the right to choose what we wish to experience. We have the right to choose what we will eat for breakfast and who we will hang out with, and what city we might want to move to, and what kind of a house we will live in when we get there. We can choose who we will marry and what profession we will pursue. We can choose how we spend our money and give of our talent and spend our time. Even those that have been stripped of their freedoms because they are in prison still have the freedom to make certain choices, even though they might be limited. For example, they have the freedom to choose what kind of attitude they will have, or the response to their circumstances that they might want to express. Viktor Frankl, who was himself imprisoned in a Nazi concentration camp, said, "Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom." Life is all about choices. When we cut away all of the junk, every situation is a choice. We can choose how we're going to react to those situations. We can choose how people affect our moods. The invitation is to not believe the lie that we may have heard that we have no choice. Whether someone else is telling us that lie or we are telling ourselves, it is our birthright to have a choice. We have been given free will to choose what we will believe, what attitude that we will have in any given moment, and who we will become. Each and every morning we can wake up and say to ourselves, in this moment I have two choices. I can choose to be in a good mood, or I can choose to be in a bad mood. Today, I choose to be in a good mood. Because we have free will, there will be times when we will make good choices. And there will be times when we make not so good choices. Good choices are the choices that keep us heading in the direction in which we want to go. Bad choices, on the other hand, end up being counterproductive, and we can find ourselves spiraling down into stress or confusion or despair. There will be those that make poor choices, causing themselves and others grief. Free choice has its responsibilities and its complications. However, the divine would go against its own nature if we were denied the freedom to choose. Sometimes we make some choices and things don't always go the way that we desire them to. But even then, we have a choice to make. How are we going to react to and handle that situation? Each and every time we go through a challenge, we can choose to be a victim of our circumstances, or we can choose to find the blessings in the experiences and to grow from them. There's always choices that are available. And no matter what our choices are today, they are all ultimately creating our experiences and our future because they all have consequences. We make choices every day, some major and some minor, some conscious and some unconscious. Every moment we are given the opportunity to make different choices. We are never truly free from choice. The important thing to remember is that we are a product of the choices that we make, as Cindy's saying. In this moment, I think that we can all agree that I probably have us all on the same page, that we are confronted by countless choices every single day. Some of our choices have minimal consequences, while other choices can be life-changing. While some of the choices may impact our lives right away in this moment today, other choices may not affect us for years to come. Ordinarily, we're very good at making choices, and we do so efficiently and seamlessly. Now and then, however, we come up against a choice that gives us a moment to pause. I'm sure that the question on everyone's mind is, how then can we make good choices? Now, as I was preparing for my message today, I came across a number of articles and blogs that outline exactly how we can do that. In my very best Ernest Holmes impersonation, I have compiled some of them into a very practical list. Number 1, handle the little things and manage the big stuff. It's very easy to get sidetracked by insignificant issues in our lives. And if we spend a lot of time on the trivial stuff, there won't be enough time to really be able to contemplate the things that really matter in life. Number 2, values matter. The invitation is to make choices that are consistent with our beliefs and our values. The alternative invariably leads to regret. Number 3, listen to our gut. Whether we believe it or not, we probably already know ourselves better than we realize, or better than we may be willing to admit. Sometimes we ignore what our gut is telling us because we may not really want to face the reality of the choices that we have to make. The invitation is to have a conversation with ourselves and then watch as the pieces start to unfold. Number 4, learn from the past. The invitation is to learn from our experiences and the experiences of others. Identify the situations where we have had to make a similar choice in the past. We are then encouraged to ask ourselves, how can we apply those lessons learned to the existing situation, and then to apply them. Number 5, know what we know and know what we don't know. The invitation is to seek input and advice where variables are beyond our comfort zone. Don't try to be an expert in everything. On the other hand, while it is nice and comfortable to ask for another person's perspective, the invitation is to ask for advice, but to ultimately make our own choices. Number 6, keep the right perspective. Here we are invited to view an issue from every vantage point. What do the facts say? What does our own intuition say? Is our consciousness trying to tell us something? The invitation is to listen up. Number 7, make sure that we're in the right frame of mind. When it comes to those life-changing choices, the invitation is to try to make sure that we are feeling comfortable and at ease before we choose what our next move might be. Number 8, learn to trust ourselves. Having the confidence to trust ourselves is really a task all on its own. But once we have more confidence in ourselves, we may feel better about making the big choices in the future. The invitation is to practice, practice, practice. Number 9, don't procrastinate. We will rarely have all of the information that we need to make the perfect choice, so don't demand perfection. There really is no such thing as perfection anyway. The philosopher Voltaire warned against letting the perfect be the enemy of the good. And that advice still holds true today. And lastly, number 10, once we make a choice, don't look back. Make it work. The invitation is to not second guess ourselves. We can't relive the past. It's a waste of valuable time and energy. One other really important thing that came up for me this morning is the distinction between choice and decision. Now, I believe that it is a significant conversation for us to have, because once we get the distinction and we understand where each one is made from and how they show up in our lives, we will recognize why choice is more powerful than decision. This may assist us to make some of the more difficult choices that we may have to make in our lives. A while ago, I participated in a workshop. And in this workshop, I participated in an exercise called chocolate or vanilla. Now, in this exercise, a person was called up to the front of the ballroom, and they were given the choice between a chocolate or a vanilla ice cream cone. Once they chose, they were asked why chocolate or why vanilla. Now, answers ranged from because I like chocolate better, or I like vanilla better, or because vanilla has less calories, or because I always choose vanilla and I thought that maybe it would be good if I changed it up a little bit, so I chose chocolate today, and other such kinds of answers. Now, each time they said something like that, they were told that it was a decision and not a choice, and they were asked to sit down, and another person was invited up to the front of the ballroom. This went on like this for quite a long time. It went on like that until someone finally said, "Just because I chose it." And when that happened, the exercise was over. Now, if anyone is confused, let me break it down for you a little bit. Decision is the act of making up our mind. A choice is our power to choose. A decision is a thoughtful, thorough process of analysis which can be explained. A choice purely exists. A decision emerges from the mind, while a choice comes directly from our gut or from our heart. A decision may come with second guessing, while a choice is never prone to doubt. A decision often brings with it a feeling of compromise and uncertainty, while a choice brings contentment and a deep sense of peace. A decision can bring fear and doubt in our minds, such as, what if, or and yet. On the other hand, when we choose something, we have a sense of responsibility towards it. It gives us the opportunity as well as the power to be in the driver's seat rather than a passenger in our own lives. Moreover, choice liberates us from the artificial pressures of circumstances, and it makes each one of us responsible for leading our own lives. With choice comes possibility and power. When we choose something, we aren't crippled by the race consciousness ideas that society can so often impose upon us. In choice, we are comfortable and confident with our own internal compass, with our own internal wisdom. For me, decision involves pros and cons. It involves lists of for and against. It involves the angel on the one shoulder and the devil on the other shoulder, and moments of going back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. For me, a choice just drops in. I simply know what to choose, and there is a sense of completion and joy and peace. While it may or may not be an easy road following the choice, I know that because it came from within, that it is the right and perfect choice and will be supported by the universe. Choice is the essential power point in the essential point of power in the individual. By choosing how to think and what to do from the wisdom and the compassion that is within us, we actualize our potential more fully. As we bring this process to the level of conscious awakening, we actually direct our lives from our authentic selves, ourselves with a capital S. Raymond Charles Barker says, all intelligence abides in your subconsciousness and awaits your call upon it. You may say you do not know what to do, but at the center of your mind is the clear choice that you should make. It's right there. There is that within us that absolutely knows the highest and best choice to make. The choice that is filled with wisdom and compassion and clarity. The choice that just feels right. Now, last week I had a choice to make. In truth, I had really been wrestling with a decision for a month. My beloved cat, Cash, was diagnosed with kidney disease quite a while ago and had been doing really, really well until he wasn't. And when he wasn't, his health declined pretty quickly. He experienced a few seizures and was losing weight and muscle mass and couldn't jump as high as he had always been able to jump throughout his entire life. He was becoming more and more picky about what he would and wouldn't eat, and yet he was still eating. He was spending more and more time sleeping, and yet he would rally multiple times throughout the day. I know that many of you listening today have had a similar experience with your beloved pets. This is the mind that is trying to make a decision, recognizing the struggles that are happening in the moment and looking for any bright lights to hang on to. Pairing the pros and cons against each other and trying to make sense of it all. Taking a blank sheet of paper and drawing a line down the middle with yes on one side and no on the other. Stay on one side and go on the other. Go to school on one side or take a year off and travel throughout Europe on the other side. There are so many valid reasons on each side. Pulled one way and then the other way. It is a mind that is filled with angst, fear, doubt, and worry. This was my mind for a couple of weeks until I remembered the distinction between decision and choice. And I did what I probably should have been doing all along. I prayed and I asked other people to pray for me. I asked them to pray for wisdom and clarity and divine right action and peace and compassion, and I did the same. It was very hard at times for me to step outside of my sadness long enough and well enough to be able to really pray for myself. However, I knew that they all had my back. I could trust in that and have faith in the way that prayer works, and very shortly I had the clarity that I desired. I knew the choice that I had to make, the highest and the best for all. In that moment, there was no uncertainty and no second guessing. There was no doubt. I simply knew. While I felt great sadness and grief around the choice, I also felt an overwhelming peace. Now, each and every day, we will encounter opportunities for decisions and choices in our lives. In all probability, most of them will be simple choices. What should I wear today? What should I have for lunch? What color should I paint the living room? But others will not be so simple. For those, the invitation is to be a conduit for the divine, for the wisdom, the clarity, the intelligence, the divine right action, the peace, and the compassion of the divine. To get quiet enough and to listen for and to our own inner wisdom, and to know that our choices are always divinely guided. Now, we have been given the divine authority to choose. And when we bring this process, this gift, to the level of conscious awakening, we will never, ever, ever go wrong. And so it is. And so it is. So I invite us all to turn within, to allow ourselves to sink into that delicious space and place that is truly the spark of the divine that is within us. To allow ourselves to connect to that wisdom, that clarity, that intelligence, that peace, that compassion. And to know that through that connection, through that golden thread of God's stuff that weaves itself throughout all of life, we are connected to each other and to God and to life in ways that can never be broken. We are connected to that wisdom, to that clarity. And it's from that place of unity that I speak these words about and for each of us today, truly knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that we have been given free will. That right where we are, God is in its fullness and in its wholeness. So that right where we are, in all situations, in all circumstances, in all arenas of our lives, we have the authority to choose. To choose our highest and best. To choose from a place of consciousness rather than unconsciousness. To allow ourselves to be aligned with that inner wisdom in such a way that we simply know the right and perfect choice. That yes, the decisions that we make on a daily basis can be made in any number of different ways, 10 of them that I talked about today. And yet, those really big choices that come up for us in our lives can be made from a place in which we are guided, in which we are held, in which we are surrounded by wisdom and peace. And so I claim ease and grace for each of us around making those kinds of choices, around being so connected that we know, absolutely know, what is right and perfect for each one of us. And I'm so grateful to know this truth and to speak these words. So grateful for the power of prayer, knowing that these words are loosed into a law that only ever says yes. That my words are clothed in form even as they are spoken. And so I speak them and I release them with love and gratitude and full expectation of their manifestation, letting go and letting God be God. And I invite everyone to anchor this prayer for ourselves and for each other simply by saying, and so it is. And so it is. Amen. Thank you, Cindy. It is now time for our conscious giving. And so I invite everyone to just take a moment to really reflect on all of the ways that we are truly, truly blessed in our lives. All of the ways that we are truly abundant. And to know that as we reflect on them and as we feel gratitude and express that gratitude is generative, that it brings more into our lives to be grateful about. And that as we are willing to share of some of that abundance, that we powerfully step into the flow of life, that giving and receiving are one and the same. I'm grateful for these gifts, however big or small, knowing that they assist this community to continue to be a beacon of light, a beacon of warmth, and a beacon of love in the Greater Triangle area, that they prosper the one giving, and that they add to the idea and the expression of sufficiency on the planet. Please repeat after me. I am grateful for all that I receive, and I'm grateful for all that I may give. And so it is. Please welcome back the awesome Cindy Johnson.
Sometimes, there we are. Sometimes we just need to be reminded that we are loved, we are accepted. And this song is really poignant in that Spirit is telling us how adored we are. Child of mine, my beloved one, darling daughter, special son, you have never been alone. In my heart, you're always home. I'm not sure you understand. I am your greatest fan. Do you know how adored you are? How your precious heart is honored here? Do you know that you are loved and you're enough just the way you are? Do you know how adored you are? As a babe you came to earth with secrets of the universe, but you forgot along the way. You are cherished, you are safe. I'm right here in everything you do. a breath, I'm breathing you. Do you know how adored you are? How your precious heart is honored here. Do you know that you are loved and you're enough just the way you are? Do you know how adored you are? And oh, how you would love yourself, sweet child of mine, if only you could see yourself through my eyes. You would know how adored you are, how your precious heart is honored here. You would know that you are loved and you're enough just the way you are. It's yours to believe, yours to receive. Do you know how adored you are?
Thank you so much, Cindy, for that reminder. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. So I know for me and others, this has been a tough time with the pandemic and everything that's going on in our lives. We just want you to know the practitioner staff and the ministers here are there for you. We're here for you to pray. We're here for practitioner sessions. We're just there to listen. And so if you would like prayer, please go to our website at trianglecsl.org. And up in the home page, up in the right-hand corner, is a prayer button. Just click on that and fill out the form, and that will be sent to our ministers and practitioners who will hold that truth for you throughout the week. So I'd really like for you to join us after service today for Let's Stay Together. Let's stay connected. It's on Zoom. So if you remember that email that you get every week, so it's in your inbox maybe it's in a TCSL folder that you keep, or goodness, maybe it's in your spam. Pull that out and look at it, and in the middle there will be a link to our Zoom, and just join us because we'd really love to see your lovely faces and connect with you. So I invite you to do that right after service. So now is the time for our November affirmation for the very first time. And so if you would feel comfortable in your homes joining me, this is a call and response. Intention is the starting point of everything that takes place in the universe.
Intention is the starting point of everything that takes place in the universe.
Choice is the engine of evolution.
Choice is the engine of evolution.
As I consciously choose, I consciously evolve.
As I consciously choose, I consciously evolve.
The power of choice is one of the greatest gifts I have been given.
The power of choice is one of the greatest gifts I have been given.
I am committed to my own growth, to loving myself enough to be my best self.
I am committed to my own
Today I choose wisely to express my authentic self in all that I do.
Today, I choose wisely to express my authentic self in all that I do.
Spirit is 100% engaged with me.
Spirit is 100% engaged with me.
It is living out its perfect life as me.
It is living out its perfect life as me.
I am the change I wish to see in the world, and all is well.
I am the change I wish to see in the world, and all is well.
And so it is.
And so it is.
Thank you for joining me with that. So if you would like to stay for our closing song, but first if you would turn within as I speak a word of benediction. Knowing first of all that this great power and presence is always with us wherever we go, that we can never be separated from it, that it lives in and through us and through everyone, with no exceptions. And so I speak a word of blessing on our week this week, knowing that this country has a big choice to make, and that the choices that are made are for the highest good of our country and the world. And so I know that we are supported and loved through this process, and that all is well, and so it is.